Over to the next conversation about Azimio la Umoja's agenda. And yesterday they had a meeting at the Kamukunji grounds. They said that they will continue to hold such kind of meetings. And if it means they have to do demonstrations, they will do so, but in a peaceful manner. Listen to what some of the leaders said yesterday.
Ni rifari ambaye mpaka iteuliwe na wachezaji na timu zote mbili. Hawezi kuwa timu moja anataka kuweka yule rifari. Tumekataa.
Mimi natuma ujumbe kwa Ruto. We shall not allow you to form a Ruto Electoral Commission. Hata ukijaribu kuchagua, tutaifurusha. Ukijaribu chochote, tutafurusha mpaka wananchi wafanye ile katiba inataka ifanyike.
All right, so Honorable Mbui, we've had this conversation for many weeks now that you're opposed to William Ruto recruiting IEBC commissioners. Yet Parliament just recently enacted the amendments to the IEBC Act detailing how that is supposed to be done. What exactly is Azimio agitated about in this process?
On the part of IEBC, we walked out. We are unhappy about the whole process. You see, the most important thing you must understand is that what was being changed is a team that will be able to make the decision on who becomes our commissioners for IEBC. And that team, that selection panel, we feel that is skewed very, very much in the favor of the Kenya Kwanza administration.
How so?
Because first and foremost, parliamentary service is being given 2 slots. So the only way we as Azimio would have a voice is through only one member through Parliamentary Service Commission. Now, if you go to, for example, the political party liaison, they'll only have one person. I'm certain that that will be in favor of the Kenya Kwanza administration. You go to the religious team.
Political parties liaison committee is a committee of all political parties.
No, all political parties. But right now, let me tell you, he who pays the piper calls the tune. And the reality is that right now, the people that are holding the purse strings of this nation is the Kenya Kwanza administration. So it is not going to be possible that an Azimio-leaning political party would be able to get an opportunity to be the ones that get that slot. You saw what happened, Sam, and let's be honest about Kenyan politics. We finished the election with more members of parliament elected under Azimio coalition. But immediately after that, we started having a debate of who's the majority. What happened eventually? People defected from Azimio and went to Kenya Kwanza and became cozy because Kenya Kwanza are the ones that are holding the purse strings. That's exactly what would happen. The religious organizations also have 2 slots. We are unfortunately believing that this will also be taken up by the regime. So we are saying that they should have had a robust conversation.
So where does political leanings come in?
Oh, they do.
You tell me.
Let me tell you, Sam, you saw the last election. It was like one coalition was closer to God than the rest of us. Every conversation, we have got Mungu na watu. It's like us, we are devil worshippers. Sam, the reality is that there's a way you can keep talking to people in a certain manner they think they belong to you. And that's why you saw what happened. Kenya Kwanza were very good at also attracting bodabodas, mamambogas, because in every conversation said, tunatengeneza serikali ya mamamboga, serikali ya bodaboda. So all those people felt they belonged there.
But why not start speaking to this organization as well?
No, but they are controlling the purse. The reality is that even those meetings, when you call those major meetings for church leaders and all, they cost money. And look, how many times have they been hosted by the current regime? When do we start having? And the minute we have a small rally somewhere, there is complaints. So I'm telling you that this thing is skewed against us. So we are uncomfortable. We are unhappy about the whole setup. That's why we try to put in our voice. We are not listened to.
So and we've thrown in the towel.
We believe that the election, believe that the election of 2027 will be a foregone conclusion if that team that is being put up by the administration of Kenya Kwanza are given that opportunity. If you go back to Kenya's history, putting together a team for running election has always been a bipartisan system. From was it called IPPG, all along up to now. this is the only time now we are getting a president who wants to stamp his authority, push through laws so that he can have his people and select his people.
You know, I don't know, but Honorable Speaker is here to speak about that. But pushing through laws that you walked out of the debate?
You know what we did? We gave our opinion. But we are uncomfortable about the whole setup because we believe at the end of the day, this team that is being put together will be leaning towards the Kenya Kwanza administration. And that's a reality. And that's,
all right.
That's what we are worried about.
Yes, Deputy Speaker.
Yeah, you know, Sam, you know, the good thing is history never lies. And history, we always have a backup for history. If you remember, the formulation of the manner in which the selection panel for IEBC commissioners was done under the Kiraitu Orengo Joint Committee, if you remember. I was a member of it. And it is during that time that it was decided there shall be a selection panel. And the selection panel, contrary to what somebody as senior counsel as Martha Karua is saying, is that we cannot allow William Ruto to choose the commissioners. He's not choosing the commissioners. The selection panel. The selection panel is designed by statute. The membership is designed by statute. It says somebody from the religious body, somebody from PSC, somebody from the Public Service Commission, somebody nominated by so-and-so. So if I was a pragmatic leader, when the names, I would negotiate with the religious leaders or Parliamentary Service Commission and so on, that when they name someone, if I think that person has bias, you can ask for that person to be dequalified and replace them with another person.
That's what we say.
Yes.
Our furusha. That's what we meant.
Yes. No, but you know, I think that is a bit primitive. You don't say furusha. You simply, you have a chance to negotiate. It's like when you go to court and you want to choose a panel of arbitrators. Normally, you give your list of preferred arbitrators. The other side gives their list. Then you negotiate on it and say, delete so-and-so. When 3 are left, the court is allowed to choose one. Now, the issue of the selection panel, you already took it to court. And the court declared that the Parliamentary Service Commission had undue advantage. Therefore, the numbers were reduced. That law has been complied with by Parliament. So it is utterly untrue and misleading to Kenyans to say that the IEBC should be cherry-picked by William Ruto. He only gets to gazette the selection panel. That selection panel is designated, so he can't just pick anyone he feels like. He must go to certain bodies who will then give him names. So he has no choice in that. So let's stop being dishonest. And then, at the time, there will be an advertisement by the selection panel for the vacancies of the commissioners. And when those vacancies are advertised, Kenyans shall be informed that the following persons have applied. Once those people have applied, Kenyans have a chance to write a memorandum, either in support or against that person's candidature. So please, let us not make it look like William Ruto sits in State House as president and starts making the list. It is misleading, it is wrong, and it is dishonest.
And
then let's finish. Let's go on and whatever. The other thing that is extremely dishonest is to say, I've seen the Azimio rally. The Azimio rally has no less than 6 senior councils there. You'd have expected them to be able to tell their party leader that, you know what? The process has been done of elections. You have recourse to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has pronounced itself. There is no reverse gear. Whether you skip, jump, go where, nothing is changing. So how is it that they can't give that advice to their leader and say, you know what, you back out? You remember, this is what great statespersons do and statesmen. If you remember when Hillary Clinton, she won the popular vote, but she lost on the colleges, the electoral colleges. Did she cause mayhem in America? Even though she had the numbers, she respectfully say, I respect the law. And I will let the law take its course. I will live to fight another day. And that is what I expect. If Raila Odinga is truly a statesman, We expect him to do that. But to say I will cause mayhem until I have my way, that is not democracy. We have a law.
Yeah.
We have a constitution.
Let me ask you this, because Wafula Chebukati left office on the 17th of January 2023. Today is 6th of February, just about 2 weeks or thereabout. What's stopping the president from gazetting or declaring the vacancies and start the process of recruitment?
Okay, I think there is an ongoing tribunal at the moment.
But there are 5 vacancies of commission and 1 chairman.
Yes, there are 5 vacancies. But I think, you can decide to set it up now, or you wait for the tribunal's decision so that you can know how many. Because then that way you're not setting up 2 different selection panels. And it's not my place to say, but if I was giving advice, then I would say I would wait for the tribunal process to end so that you have all the vacancies, or to know that you have less by 1 vacancy. Then do it all at once. Because remember, there's also regional balancing that has to happen. There is negotiations to make sure that it presents the diversity of Kenya, as has been required by the Constitution. So you're better off doing it at once as opposed to doing it now and then filling 1 vacancy later. And luckily, we have the advantage of time. I mean, as long as it's done within the next few months, we still have the advantage of time. If you remember last time, the selection panel wasn't established until 1 year to the elections.
Because there was no law to establish it.
Yes, there was no law to establish it, no. And it's because at that time, whoever was leader of majority, who was in charge of government business in the House, just didn't bother. I think it was convenient for them at that time to delay and pick people at the last minute.
For defense.
Yes. No, that was not... this happened, the agitation started after the leader of majority was changed to Kimunya.
The commission was retired in April 2018. Duale was leader of majority until 2020. Sorry? I'm saying 3 commissioners resigned April 2018.
Yes.
Akombe had resigned the previous year in October. Aden Duale was still the leader of majority.
Yes.
Never bothered
okay, then maybe you didn't follow the further details that were happening in Parliament. Remember, long before the then leader of majority was removed, Honorable Aden Duale, what happened is they started purging on the committees. So what happens is most of parliamentary work starts at the committee and majority of the work happens at the committee. Parliament is a very brief process. So by that time, there was destabilization in the committees itself. We had no control of the committees by that time. So Aden Duale was removed much later. So I think I need to get you the Hansard so that you can keep up with what's happening. And I remember, so you can never take me on this one.
I have been covering.
I have a very good memory on this one, I can tell you.
Fred, what do you think needs to happen? Because yes, she says that sort of allowing time so that the process of the tribunal is concluded, but also a country...
No, I'm guessing that that's just my own guess.
Yeah, I'm just quoting you. But a country has work to do. It has delimitation of boundaries to do. There's also now the concerns from the Azimio side saying that they do not think that this is going to be fair. So what should happen?
Ideally, what should have happened is the process of reconstituting the commission should have started 6 months before the lapse of that commission. That's what should have happened ideally. But here we are. And again, as Azimio, we have demanded for the, reforms in the IEBC. And this is something that I think every Kenyan will agree with us.
Give me one example of reform.
When you look at, there are so many recommendations. Some of them have come from the Supreme Court, and some of them have come from the IEBC themselves, especially in protection of some of these forms. And you can look at that report, it is there. Now, when we talk about the selection panel, the composition, whatever we do, whether it is Interreligious Council of Kenya, LSK, PPLC, PulseCom, PSC, all these, in one way or another, if this government of today want to influence the outcome, they will. They will. Nothing will stop them because this is political process and people have interest. And that's why we are saying this process must be above board, and it must be a process that must be consultative. It must be a process that Kenyans must agree with it, and the outcome must be above board. And look at just the last election. There were representation from these nominating bodies. for some reason. They were there. But how come we ended up with 2 sets of commissioners? This Cherera 4 and this Chebukati and the team. It tells you that the commissioners are not independent in their work in one way or another for some time. They have not been. So for us to achieve an independent commission, as it should be, then we must relook at this process. It's not just about amending the act and then introducing another nominating body, and then we feel that now we are going to have independent commission. No. The reforms that have been proposed by the Supreme Court, the reforms that have been proposed by the IEBC themselves in their post-election report, what's called PE report, must be effected. But politically, I still believe that because the political players have an interest and they always come out after election and say, even if it was William Ruto today who was out, he would still make such complaints.
So what exactly do you want to happen? Because an amendment has been...
The amendment has been done.
And signed into...
Has been signed into law. That's okay. Let this process be as consultative as possible. That is what we'd want to say.
Fred, what is consultative? Because...
Consultative means let no one, in selecting the panel, in choosing the panel, for example, if it is IRCK, for example, that nominating body must not be influenced in any way to produce a nominee to that panel that is not acceptable by the political divide. If it is LSK, the same. That's what we are saying.
Okay, you just told me 2 things, that you want the process to be consultative, but you also want these bodies not to be influenced. So what are you talking about? I'm
talking about a possibility of actually having a pro-government selection panel. It is possible. It is possible. Look at this. You know,
what do you mean pro-government?
Honorable Mbui gave a very good example of the religious groups. If you look at the coziness of this government with the religious group, and if they're going to nominate their representative in the panel, then you can actually tell where that is going. If you look at PSC, Fred, all those things are possible.
Fred, I hear that, and I've heard it enough times on this panel, but I'm asking you, because this is the law, what do you want done?
First of all, if I tell you what us as Azimio would have wanted, is a total reform. And if you listen to Raila Amolo Odinga the other day, he said, actually, we must now even try and do away some of these things that are causing us problems every election. So, but like the law is there today.
With what?
The law is already there today. So if, to answer you, I think in my view now as Okango, for us to have a panel that is going to give us commissioners that will abide by what is expected of them, then those nominating bodies must not and should never, ever hear any call or influence from external person, whether it is Azimio, whether it is Kenya Kwanza, to bring a name that is not going to be accepted.
But you know what you could also do is when the selection panel is in place, when they advertise, field your very best guys to be, after all, the interviews will be public. If there is someone exceptionally good, it will be hard that the public is watching to change that. So why don't you field your people?
Today, we have got a cabinet. Ordinarily, that cabinet ought to have been selected from the basis of suitability and competence. But we can see already in the cabinet that there are people there, in our view as Azimio, they're not as suitable and competent as we would have expected. And that list went through National Assembly. It was approved. How was it approved? So those are the questions that we are asking. Even these commissioners, after the selection panel do their job, they'll still go through there and they'll pass. What we want to see, we want to see a process that is acceptable by all Kenyans. Remember, we have gone back to Kenyans. We are doing public consultation. We want to hear them. What do you want to see IEBC look like? And that is what Raila Odinga is asking Kenyans to do. Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, that's what we are asking.
There's no consultation. They are talking at the people. The people just cheer. There's nobody who responds.
The people.
I was watching.
Fred, Honorable Boss, and Honorable Mbui. Let's listen. I'll just give a few seconds to Honorable Mbui because it's been quiet. But first, listen to the feedback via Twitter. Citizen TV Kenya Tam Gitukut. The hashtag to use is Daybreak. We want to look at some of them. Where are they? Okay. All right, so this is Jay Musoma. You're saying that weaponization of taxes is mere excuse by Kenya Kwanza for not having enough reasons to be lazy. They propagate class wars to sustain a political narrative that past regimes are the reason why they cannot feed Kenyans. Mama Ngina is right. KRA functions can't be politicized. Alex Yore, you're saying that Kenya Kwanza should not lie to Kenyans that the economy is tough because of these individuals who don't pay tax. Life was already hard. That's scapegoating. All right. Asamo, dear Gladys Chalet, WRA, I guess you mean KRA, has increased taxes by 75 times. Kenya Power is increasing tariffs as per April documents. Kenyans have abandoned by taxes. Or did you mean Water Resource Authority? Maybe. Someone else? This is Onyango. You're saying KRA is the body mandated to issue tax demands to individuals or entities. Ruto and Gachagua shouting about tax payments in altars is meant to distract hustlers from real issues of 75% rise in electricity cost and tenfold rise in water cost. Babu Michael, you're saying that with all the issues we hear about, taxation and victimization of individuals pretending to be looking for untaxed wealth in Kenya, these taxes will be collected and then looted. And so who will be benefiting? Whoa, all right. Alex Yore, again, it's not about tax collection, it's about what you do with the tax collected. Why does this government, which has appetite for tax, also borrow loans in a high rate? Where is the voice of KRA? It's only politicians discussing tax. It should be KRA. All right. Godi Barazawere, the political state of affairs in the country is quite worrying. Tax shouldn't be an aspect through which leaders are settling scores. The focus should be on how best can we as a country move forward without much political cacophony. Okay. Isaac Muthusi, it's extremely painful to see Walala Hoi earning less than 20,000 pay tax promptly, while well-known wealthiest families are not paying tax. I stand with President William Ruto. Kila mtu alipe ushuru. Athanas Mavuti, a retired president should earn himself respect. If indeed it's true that the retired president is evading tax and sponsoring demonstrations, then he doesn't deserve, well, I missed that. Bobo Tieno, scaling down of former President Uhuru's security detail is being dragged into politics, more so by opposition. We saw with former heads of state, and there was not a lot of noise stated by IG Koome. All right, so much feedback coming through. And of course, yes, a person earning 20,000 shillings, they may pay tax through VAT, but they do not pay income tax from pay as you earn because the minimum is 24,000 shillings a month. Honorable Mboy, I'm giving you the final opportunity because you haven't spoken for long, but precisely what exactly you want done. You have indicated, you've shown us the challenges that you're facing, but then what is the solution out of this?
I think, Sam, I can say that one of the ways by which you can diffuse tensions and help the country to heal, because Kenyans are suffering. I mean, 90% of the people who've written here are talking about how we are in dire straits. And the best way to give people an opportunity is to give them a chance to express themselves. So when you go for our rallies, we are giving the youth an opportunity, and because of country, the future belongs to them. And you saw in Kibra, we give them an opportunity and they talk about what they would like done. So that already diffuses the tension, because if you keep covering a fire with a blanket, then it will blow up. So we are trying to help this regime to make sure that Kenyans at least know that there is a voice that is speaking for them, and that we already know that they're actually suffering.
Okay, all right. And of course, Chris Kilonzo, the Vice Chairperson of Political Parties Liaison Committee, has asked me to tell you that PPLC is financed by the government of Kenya through the taxpayers' resources, not by Kenya Kwanza. That's his voice to you. But Honorable Gladys Boss, Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Fred Okango from KANU, as well as Honorable Mboy, the Deputy Minority Leader of the National Assembly. Thank you for making time for us to have this conversation. And we'll continue to do this as we look for answers to some of those stubborn questions that are in the public domain. My name is Sam Gituku. See you some other time. Bye for now.